think that's it. So please stay afterwards for wine, and we've got room till so no rush, wine and books and hanging out, and that would be amazing. Thank you so much, and here we go.
Growing up, Josiah ate nothing but chocolate. He ate chocolate for breakfast, lunch, afternoon snacks, and of course, he ate chocolate for dinner. Chocolate ice cream, chocolate brownies, chocolate donuts, chocolate candy bars and cake and mousse and pudding, and his very favorite, chocolate cream pie. Josiah, however, was in perfectly good health. He had a relatively fast metabolism, and more importantly, was not fully human, thereby making him insusceptible to many of the nutritional laws that typically affect the human race.
Other children, Josiah,
Josiah's mother would often say, from the time he was very young,
cannot eat all of the chocolate they want. If they did, they would get sick and they would get fat. But your body is different. Your body is part Parnucklian, and Parnucklians eat nothing but chocolate. It is their only food. Of course, they do not call it chocolate because they speak Parnucklian, and the word chocolate is an earthling word. They call it bogli, which is Parnucklian for chocolate. The planet Parnuckle, which is the home planet of your father, and therefore is your home as well, will always be your home, even though you've never been there and possibly never will. But it will always be there as your home because it is the home of your father, just like this home, which is my home, and also your home. Is also your home, even if you grow up and move far away, as long as you live, or unless I move to another home, but then that home will also be your home. Your father, on the other hand, will never leave Parnuckle, so that will not be an issue. Of course, that is not quite fair, since comparing a house on a planet to a planet. I, likewise, will never leave this planet, nor will this house, or any other house I may be living in, either in the future or whatever.
once, when Josiah was around 5 years old, he had gone with his mother to the grocery store to shop for groceries. Josiah had often gone with his mother to the grocery store because Josiah's mother was a single mother and could not leave him home alone at that age. And also because Josiah was very attached to his mother and loved her very much. While in the bread aisle shopping for little Boboli donuts, Josiah saw a plastic bag containing round bread with the word Boboli printed on it. Later, when he and his mother were in the car on the way home, Josiah told her about the bag. He was going to ask her if the bag that said Boboli could possibly mean that there were other people on this planet that spoke Parnucklian, maybe even part Parnucklians like him. And he was going to ask why the bag that said Boboli had some kind of brown bread in it. No Boboli at all. But before he could ask, Josiah's mother reached across the cab of the car and grabbed Josiah by the forearm, spearing her fingernails into his skin.
Never interrupt Mommy while Mommy is driving,
Josiah's mother said. When Josiah's mother let go, Josiah watched as the little white half moons on his arm turned pink and disappeared. Josiah first met Bree, the daughter of Johnson Davis, Josiah's mother's new fiancée, 4 days after moving into the home of Johnson Davis, where Josiah's mother now lived. When Josiah first saw Bree, he thought she was pretty. He thought her hair was shiny, and he liked the way she looked in her soccer uniform. When she looked at him for the first time, she smiled. He looked away. Bree had been 15 years old the first time she was suspended from school. That week, Manny Bowler and Freddie Carson were caught smoking marijuana behind the science building of the high school that they and Bree attended. Manny Bowler and Freddie Carson were very worried that they would get into a lot of trouble when their parents found out that they had been caught smoking marijuana. So they were relieved when the assistant principal, Mr. Dawes, informed them that their parents might not necessarily need to find out as long as Manny Bowler and Freddie Carson were willing to reveal to Mr. Dawes where they had gotten the marijuana. When Mr. Dawes informed Bree that selling illegal substances on campus was grounds for expulsion, as well as involving local law enforcement, Bree informed Mr. Dawes that she would not tell anyone that Mr. Dawes' brother-in-law, Mr. Allinson, who was an art teacher at the nearby elementary school, had shown her his penis when she was in the 6th grade. as long as her selling illegal substances on campus was grounds for suspension rather than expulsion, and not grounds for involving local law enforcement at all, and as long as she was able to remain on the girls' junior varsity soccer team. The evening that Josiah first met Bree, Josiah and his mother waited, with dinner ready in the kitchen, for Johnson Davis to return from picking Bree up from her school. On weekdays, Bree lived with her mother in a town 46 miles away from the town where Johnson Davis lived. Bree was on her high school's girls' varsity soccer team, and the team happened to have a game that afternoon, putting Johnson Davis and Bree's arrival at well after 7 o'clock in the evening. Shortly after Johnson Davis and Bree arrived at the home of Johnson Davis, after Johnson Davis had made a formal introduction of Bree to Josiah, and likewise Josiah to Bree, during which Bree, whose hair Josiah thought was shiny, smiled at Josiah, and Josiah looked away. Johnson Davis and Josiah's mother, and Josiah, and Bree, all sat down in the dimly lit dining room resembling the interior of a pirate ship, and began their dinner. Johnson Davis and Josiah's mother and Bree were each having a pork chop and some steamed vegetables that Josiah's mother had spent the earlier part of that evening preparing. Josiah was having a piece of chocolate cream pie. Josiah's slice of chocolate cream pie was so large that the slice constituted between 1/4 and 1/2 of the pie itself. Bree looked at the plate set before Josiah. Josiah and the plate, both having been set directly across from Bree, and asked,
"Is that your dinner?
Yes.
You're having pie
Yes.
for dinner?"
Josiah was going to answer yes to Bree when Johnson Davis interrupted and told his daughter,
Oh yes, pie. Chocolate pie is one of Josiah's favorite meals.
Is it?
It certainly is. Josiah, you see, has a very unusual diet.
Consisting of pie,
Not just any pie,
chocolate pie,
correct. Or chocolate cake, or chocolate ice cream, or chocolate whatever have you.
chocolate.
Oh yes. It seems Josiah does not like to eat anything other than chocolate. Isn't that right?
You eat nothing but chocolate?
Oh no, nothing but chocolate.
Is that even healthy?
Josiah wasn't sure how to answer this question, other than to repeat what he had heard his mother say numerous times, that he was a perfectly healthy boy, and Johnson Davis, along the same lines, was about to say to his daughter,
Doesn't he look healthy?
when Josiah's mother, pushing the door open with her shoulder, entered the dining room from the kitchen, carrying a bowl of steamed broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots in one hand, and a pitcher of ice water with 2 slices of lemon floating at the top on the other.
Dear, Bree was just asking if it's healthy for Josiah to eat chocolate cream pie for dinner.
Why would she ask that?
I was just curious.
Curious. Is she normally so curious about other people's health?
It just seems strange.
You should ask her.
It just seems strange to me.
I see.
I mean, it's a little strange, don't you think?
To each his own.
I guess so.
I guess so.
As they all 4 began to eat, the table was silent, until after nearly 2 minutes when Johnson Davis set his fork down next to his plate, swallowed the last bite of carrot still in his mouth, and announced to all,
Quite a game today.
Josiah and Bree and Josiah's mother each looked up, still chewing and or swallowing their food. In acknowledgement, Josiah's mother making eye contact with Johnson Davis, Bree with Josiah, and Josiah briefly before turning away when she smiled at him with Bree.
Did they win?
They certainly did, thanks to Bree.
Did she do well?
They would be nothing without her. They'd be hopeless.
I don't think that's true.
Anyone can see it. She scored 5 goals today.
A 3.
Whichever. The one girl that scored the other goal, well, it may as well have been yours.
No.
Anyone can see it.
We have a really strong defense.
Bree is modest, which is good, but she should be proud of her soccer play. It's something she excels at, something she has worked at and seen results. It gives her direction. Young people need direction. They need something important in their lives, something to work at. For me, it was running. For Bree, it's soccer. Everyone has their own interests, but it's important to have the path, the focus.
Do you play any sports?
Josiah does not play any sports. In fact, he's homeschooled.
How long have you been homeschooled?
Since 7th grade.
How is it?
Josiah had just enough time to shrug before Johnson Davis answered that homeschooling certainly had its own strengths and its own shortcomings, and Johnson Davis was about to begin listing those strengths and those shortcomings, beginning with the shortcomings, when Bree interrupted him to say,
Why don't you let him answer?
Excuse me?
You don't have to talk for him. Why don't you let him answer?
Josiah is very shy.
So?
Unsure how to respond, Josiah's mother simply stared at Bree.
Perhaps she has a point, dear. Of course Josiah can speak for himself. Let's let Josiah answer the question. Josiah, the question was, how was it? It being homeschooling. How is homeschooling, Josiah?
It's okay,
Do you like it?
I guess.
Don't you miss regular school? Do you have any friends? Do you or don't you?
Patrick,
Who's Patrick?
my friend,
And how do you know him?
I met him at the group home.
The group home?
Okay, that's enough.
Wait, you were in a group home?
That's enough.
Yes, Josiah spent a period of time in the group home.
Why?
That's none of her business.
We're not discussing that. This is not the time to discuss that.
Why not?
We'll discuss it later.
It's none of her business.
We can all discuss everything later. Now let's change the subject. Let's talk about something else.
Everyone stopped talking and stared toward the center of the table. After several seconds, Johnson Davis said,
Talk about something else.
Does Patrick know that you only eat chocolate?
Yes.
And what does he think about that? Do you have any other friends? Do you have a girlfriend?
Josiah's mother stopped chewing and stared at Bree. She swallowed. Josiah shook his head.
Well, have you ever had a girlfriend?
Dear.
Bree, I'm not sure that's appropriate.
Why not?
I just don't think it's appropriate.
Why would you ask him that?
It just came to mind.
Well, let's just stop it.
Stop what?
We just think it's inappropriate, so that'll be that.
Josiah and Bree and Johnson Davis and Josiah's mother continued in silence. Both Josiah's mother and Bree poking at their respective pork chops with their forks. Johnson Davis dragging his last bite of broccoli through the juice left on his plate from the meat, and Josiah breaking into the bite-sized pieces the soft part of his pie's crust, smeared with the last traces of the chocolate filling, leaving the hard crust from the pie's edge, until Bree looked up from her plate and asked Josiah.
Do you want a girlfriend?
The next several seconds involved everyone but Josiah, shouting at everyone but Josiah. Johnson Davis purposely and dramatically knocking over his water glass and repeating the words, "God damn!" and "travesty!" and Josiah's mother calling after Bree as Bree left the room, "You are not going to fuck my son!" Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, Dean tried to fuck Josiah. On the Sunday morning of Josiah's first full week in the home of Johnson Davis, without Bree, when Josiah finished showering and dressing and came downstairs, he found his mother seated at the kitchen table, seemingly waiting for Josiah. In one area of the kitchen table, Josiah's mother had placed a plate with toast on it, and a bowl with cereal in it, and a small pitcher with milk in it, and a glass with juice in it. In another area of the kitchen table, Josiah's mother had placed a large red textbook with black borders and black letters on the cover that spelled out, "New Way, Christian-focused home-based instruction for today's youth." Josiah looked down at the area of the kitchen table upon which Josiah's mother had placed toast and cereal and milk and juice with a look of confusion. Noticing his look of confusion, Josiah's mother said to Josiah,
Josiah, from this day forward, we will not be eating chocolate. When I say that we will not be eating chocolate, I mean that we, meaning you, will no longer eat nothing but chocolate. Some chocolate some of the time is fine, but as for the rest of the time, we need to start eating like normal people. Most, or I should say all of your life, we, meaning I, have not treated you like a normal person. This is because you are not a normal person. You are special. But now I realize that I have perhaps treated you too special, and now we have a problem. So from now on, we, meaning you, are going to be doing more normal things, like eating foods other than chocolate. But you mustn't think this means that you're normal like everyone else. You are not. You must never forget that you are special. You are more than other people. You are part Parnucklian, which is a wonderful thing. We, or I should say I, simply feel that it would be good for you to do normal things for the time being. So, sit down and have some breakfast. Also, real-world lessons will no longer be a part of your homeschool homeschooling curriculum. Your yard maintenance and housekeeping skills have reached the advanced level, and it's time to move on to something else. From this point on, we will be studying the life and words of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was a wonderful man who changed the world and continues to change it even today. He, like you, is also special. He is the Son of God. On the home planet of your Father, which is also your home, they do not believe in Jesus Christ, nor do they worship him. But that is forgivable, as Jesus never visited their planet. So they would have no way of knowing about him. Jesus did visit this planet, of course, so people on this planet that do not believe in him will go to hell. Hell is a horrible place, consisting mostly of fire. That is why it is very important that we get to know Jesus. Unfortunately, Jesus had not yet made his way into my life at the time I was taken into the Parnucklian spaceship and met your father. Parnucklians would have made wonderful Christians. They're very compassionate, just like Jesus. But at the time, I was lost. At the time, I was just like other teenage girls out there in America, lost and in need of God's love. I had given in to the temptations of the devil, though at the time I was unaware of it. At the time, what I was doing felt good, felt right. I was having fun. But in reality, I was being blinded by the devil. The devil was trying to trick me into being his servant, which no one should want to be. Luckily, even though I was being very bad, I did not begin going out with boys. This is an area, for whatever reason, the devil was unable to lead me toward. Many teenage girls, when they leave their parents and go to college, begin talking to and going out with lots of boys. For example, my roommate in the dormitory, Beth, went out with most of the boys on the boys' floor of our dormitory. Beth would spend the night with the boy nearly every night. She would sleep with boys in her bed in our dormitory room. When I say that they slept together, Josiah, I mean that they had sex, which is a sin unless you are having sex with the person that you are married to.
When Josiah had been 12 years old, Josiah's mother had sat Josiah down at the kitchen table and said to him,
Josiah, the time has come for you to learn about sex. Sex is something that a man does to a woman using his Andre Agassi. On this planet, an Andre Agassi is called a penis.
Josiah's mother had held up a 12-ounce bottle of apple juice and had continued,
When a man and a woman have sex, the man takes his Andre Agassi, or penis.
Josiah's mother then held up a coffee cup and had put the 12-ounce bottle of apple juice, lid first, inside of it.
And puts it inside of the woman's vagina, which is located in the same place that a man's penis is located. There is no Parnucklian word for the woman's vagina. To the Parnucklians, the woman's vagina is a very special and very secret place, and therefore no name is given to it, and it is rarely spoken of. On this planet, the woman's vagina has been given many names. At any rate,
Josiah's mother had begun moving the 12-ounce bottle of apple juice in and out of the coffee cup.
the man puts his penis into the woman's vagina until he is able to have an orgasm. This can be painful for the woman and can cause her to become pregnant and have a baby. So only people who really, really love each other should try it. Josiah, you should not put your penis or Andre Agassi into any woman's vagina until you know it is the right time, which will be a long time from now.
Josiah's mother had then set the 12-ounce bottle of apple juice and the coffee cup down on the kitchen table and left the kitchen and went into her room and shut the door.
But I was not like Beth in that way. I stayed up late like Beth and went to parties and drank beer and missed classes like Beth, but I did not have sex with boys like Beth did. I did not have sex with boys because somehow I always knew that there was something special out there waiting for me. All of my life, from the time I was a little girl, I always felt, always knew that there was something special out there, and I just had to wait until I found it, or it found me. Alien abductions, Josiah, typically speaking, are seen as scary, traumatic events. There was nothing scary or traumatic about my alien abduction experience. Your father, who was my alien abductor, and who was on a research mission for the planet Parnuckle, which is one of the job duties of the planet Parnuckle's Keymaster of Gozer, was very kind and very gentle throughout the entire event. was no pain or discomfort. I didn't feel a thing. One moment I was in my dorm